Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy March. February was long. Welcome to the link collaboration between APLA Health and Pyro Media, funded by the CDC. Do we insert graphic now? Insert graphic? We're learning. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Kai Smith. I am program coordinator at APLA Health. Ooh, hey. And you see, I got my hair pulled back today. She's business. We're ready. We're ready.
Oh, we love it.
And I'm Rogelio. I am the coordinator of Trans Connections, our program for trans people of color 18 to 29.
I am Ty with a brand new title. I am the outreach coordinator for prevention.
I am not a coordinator. I am the prevention training specialist for, you guessed it, Swab and Chill.
She's the queen of Swab and Chill. That's what we decided on.
She is. She presides on the Swab and Chill.
Give me the crown. I'm here, ready to roll.
It has a whole bunch of like mouth swabs around it. You
are right. No, I don't really think that.
I didn't say that they were used. God.
I still no.
No. But today we have two actually very special guests. You might have seen the advertisement with one, but we give you a little extra bonus. We have a special guest today for Community Conscious. We're going to be talking about services that are available for people in the community, how to find them, and also why studies and research things like that are important. So without further ado, let me introduce our two wonderful guests, Dr. Nina and Rudy. Woo. Come on, we have intros apparently now.
Hi, how you doing?
Like I was in West Hollywood for a quick second.
I'm so here for Kai's like spirit fingers and sound effects. It's hilarious. I enjoy it. Welcome, Dr. Nina and Rudy. Welcome to the link. How are you all doing today?
Good. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here. And I have to actually really thank Rudy because like I invited him like 2 hours ago. I was that person like the last minute, like, yo, I'm having a party. You want to come?
Okay. Rudy, you are the MVP of the day, Rudy. You can drop everything just to be with us. We appreciate
a party
it.
online. Come on, get it.
Yes.
Right. I love seeing this many people on the screen at one time.
I know. This is the most we've ever had. So we've broken a new record today. But for the people at home who don't know who you are, do you mind giving a little introduction to yourself?
Sure. My name is Dr. Nina Harawa. I'm a professor at UCLA in the School of Medicine. I'm also at Charles R. Drew University College of Medicine. And I've been doing work around HIV prevention and engagement in care for about 25 years now. And among other things, I want to talk today about a couple of the studies that were involved that I lead. One's called MEPS, or the Mobile Enhanced Prevention Support Study, and the other is called Link2, which goes right along with your name. And Rudy is our fabulous youth services navigator for Link2. So I will pass the mic to him briefly.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Rudy, and as Dr. Nina mentioned, I am the youth service navigator. And just a little bit about my role, I work at Children's Hospital. I work in clinical research, but also here at the division, we provide primary healthcare immunizations, counseling, mental health services, HIV and STI testing and prevention, as well as care for youth living with HIV, as well as healthcare and mental health for transgender populations. So there's a lot of services here, but within it, I work specifically in clinical research on the Link2 study.
Great. Thank you both so much for joining us today. So for the people at home watching who might be thinking, so they have another organization, Children's Hospital here. Yes, here at APLA, we're not trying to hide or hoard anyone. We want to help everyone, and we will help you either any way we can, whether it's in our own.
Plus, we absolutely adore Children's Hospital. We've collaborated before. So if you guys, I don't remember exactly what the study is, but let me find out and then I'll bring it up. But yes, we've collaborated with Children's Hospital before.
We love Children's Hospital. So let's get into it. So today's going to be a little different. Normally we do what's poppin' first, but for our special guest, we decided let's get into it. Let's get into the main topic right off the bat. So, Dr. Nina, you had mentioned two studies that you are overseeing. So did you want to go ahead and start and talk about the first one?
Sure. Well, I'll talk about them both together
Okay.
a bit.
Great.
You know, one of the things you said in terms of a theme is about accessing resources and services in the community. And one of the things that we see consistently is that that can be really challenging for people. We don't make our systems easy. You know, part of what I teach is health services, and sometimes we talk about a U.S. healthcare system, but we don't have a system. We have a bunch of different places that people can go, a bunch of different often very difficult processes that people go through to get the care that we need. And so what unites these two different projects that I talked about, Link 2 and MEPS, is that they involve testing interventions where people are paired with a navigator or linked to a navigator that helps them navigate those systems and get the services that they need, so that it becomes less complex, and so that when people hit roadblocks, you have somebody there saying, that's okay. We're going to go around this way. We're going to figure it out. Next time we're going to try this, or I have another door, even though that door closed, I'm going to show you where there's an open door. So as I said, there's two different studies. One is called MEPS, or Mobile Enhanced Prevention Support, and it's specifically for people ages 18 to 49, and it's focused on engaging people in HIV prevention, especially biomedical prevention. But one of the things that's also consistent about most of the research I do is we try to be holistic. So we know that people's prevention and people's health is important, but that everything else needs to be in order for people to often stay engaged in those things. So we help to link people to biomedical prevention, if that's what they're most interested in, but also behavioral prevention services, HIV and testing, STI testing, but then also services for housing, or if they need help getting transportation or legal help, we work with them. Any of those services that fit into their own goals for staying healthy and well, we try to link them to. But there's a key other similarity that I should have mentioned, is that both of these studies are for people who have been incarcerated in the past year. And we're really focusing in on that population because we know that unfortunately incarceration is very common, both within Black and Latino communities. It's also something that affects transgender communities and both gender minority and sexual minority communities at higher rates. That doesn't get talked about as much, but it's very much the case. And oftentimes when people leave custody, there's all kinds of disruption. And so having somebody there in that re-entry period to help walk people to services, our goal is that both keeps people healthy, but then also keeps people in the community.
Right.
Great. Thank you. Was anyone, Rudy, did you want to add?
I had a quick question. But if you want to go, that's fine. I'll ask my question after you.
Okay, sure. Just really quickly, just a little bit more on what my role is. Again, I'm the youth service navigator, and like Dr. Na said, I'm just here to help them once they're released. Post-release, a few things, components that we do. I meet up with them when they're released. I provide them with a kit, a phone if needed, because it's important that we stay in contact with them. I also provide education sessions with them. We cover a lot of topics around HIV stigma and discrimination, disclosure, goal setting, adherence. I also help them prepare them for their HIV care appointments. And I also provide them with weekly check-in calls. And it's a quick 5-minute check-in call, and I'm there to assist them with any sort of resources or referrals they may need, just to kind of lend them an ear. And I find that it's also really important to establish trust and build rapport with them, because I feel once you do, they tend to open up more and they tend to reach out more. And so that's, it's been a very rewarding experience.
Nice. Yes. So my question would be for the both of you, actually. My previous role was linkage to care. So dealing with people who are recently incarcerated, just getting out, linking them into care, newly diagnosed, previously diagnosed. And I know that, studies come up, and, you always want to make sure that you present those studies to your clients, because it can be very beneficial for them. In your experience, for the both of you, have you guys noticed, or have you guys had to face or had the challenge of the word study having stigma surrounded by it due to like medical mistrust within communities of color?
Yeah, that's a huge issue. I think when people hear studies, sometimes they hear, well, am I going to be a guinea pig? Or am I going to be given something that I don't want? Is my data going to appear? Is my information, my personal information, my health information going to appear somewhere else? really ensure, do the people involved have my best interests at heart?
Yeah.
And we, often, sometimes I don't lead with the word study. I'll talk about program or something else, in part because of that, because of course, I always want people need to know what they're going to get involved in, but I don't want people to shut down before they even hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can assure you that we do a lot to make sure that people are protected every step of the way. And I know if you were involved in linkage, or you've been, like you mentioned, being involved in some of the partnerships with research with CHLA, you know that there are actually a lot of steps to ensure that participants' rights are maintained.
Yes.
And I only hire and work with people who, take that seriously and are committed in the same kind of way. But it's a process, and it's a trust building process that we know we need to, make with the clients when they sign up and start talking to us. And we try to be as open and clear about the risks, the benefits, everything that's going to be involved. And then also be very clear that people can leave. If at some point they realize it doesn't work, then they can go.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
So this was something that we had actually kind of talked about before we got onto the show, but it goes back to this Ty's questions for study. A lot of people, we already talked about, turned off from the word from study, but why do we have these things? What's the purpose of all these things? Obviously, yes, we want to help the community, but is there something else that the community should know that's important that these things be taken advantage of?
Yeah, great question. The reason we do studies is because we know that there's these gaps. We know, for example, in the case of HIV care and treatment, we know that if somebody gets on treatment, they can become virally suppressed. They can have the same kind of lifespan as everyone else. They can prevent transmission of HIV to other people. But there are still many, many people who don't, for whom staying on treatment is a major challenge. And so we need strategies to be able to address that. But we don't always know what the best strategy is. So this, like, for example, the study that Rudy's part of, Link 2, which is specifically for people ages 16 to 25, that study was based on another intervention that we tested for older people leaving custody that we found to work. But there had been other attempts prior to Link 2 that didn't work. They thought, we're going to put these components together. We're going to provide support in this way. Really put a lot of resources to the problem, and it wasn't successful. Fortunately for us in Link LA, which was a somewhat older population, it was successful. And so then we were like, well, young people tend to have even greater challenges with engaging in HIV prevention and in HIV care if they're HIV positive. Let's see if we can retool that Link LA intervention for younger people. That's partly why we started working with CHLA, because they have so much expertise in working with young people, and see if it will work as effectively or even better with people ages 16 to 25.
Great. So, Rudy, I have a question for you. Since you are kind of on the front line, you're dealing with clients. A lot of us, we have client experience. We understand that sometimes it's really, really hard to get a hold of clients. You, however, have a different clientele than us in that some of your clientele are under the age of 18, which is a completely different ballgame for a lot of us here. But also being recently incarcerated and released must create its own kind of set of barriers. I know previously at a previous employment, I worked with previously incarcerated youth, and I worked a lot with like parole officers and like things like that. Is that something that you kind of have to navigate as well? Is that an additional barrier you find?
Yeah. So when they're released, they just have so many barriers. Like there's just so many things that they're dealing with. Like there is the issue of trying to get in contact with them post-release. That tends to be difficult. Information they may have provided when they were recruited might not be updated when they're released. So I have to get creative and trying to figure out how to track them down and make contact with them. So that's hard in itself. But once I do get in contact with them, there's definitely a need for like job assistance, housing. A lot of times they want substance use referrals. So it's, you do have to work with what their needs are, but then they're also trying to navigate working with their parole officer and making sure they don't do anything to get them reincarcerated. So I feel like there's just so many barriers, there's so many things that they're juggling, and I'm just trying to be as much of an advocate for them as I can in supporting them with all these barriers that they're encountering.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple great examples. On another study that I've worked on, we had somebody in a similar role to Rudy, who, when somebody went back to court and had was at risk of going back into custody or had the chance to go into a program, their navigator actually wrote a letter saying, look, this person's been in a, with their permission, of course, to reveal that part, this person's been in a program, these are the steps that they've made, we're here to provide additional support. And it was part of what made the decision that the person, actually this happened twice, one on an ongoing study, one on a different study. But basically by saying that they had the support and they'd taken those steps, it was part of what made the judge say, you can go into a program as opposed to having to go back into custody. So you're right that this population has a lot of challenges, and we hope that they work with us as much as possible to stay in contact, but we do have to get creative to follow them in the field.
Oh, we love creativity here at APLA.
But yeah, and since I didn't realize that both you and Ty had worked with similar populations, so I'm hoping we can talk offline and learn a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you'll hear a lot from us. Does anyone have any questions? I have more questions, but I don't want to dominate. Does anyone else have a question?
I had a quick question. So I know that recidivism is a huge problem. People who often go to prison are far more likely to return to prison. So what issues have you seen be the most common reason for that to occur? And is there any way that you try to prioritize your resources and what you offer clients as a result of that? Or is it really just like a case-by-case type of thing?
Yeah, that's a hard one. We do see it a lot. I think it's been somewhat better with COVID because the jail system's also has a higher bar before they will put people back behind bars. But parole violations often tend to be big ones, parole and probation violations. Rudy, can you speak to that anymore?
No, that's definitely one of them. I'm trying to think of what other thing. A lot of times too, I think there is a lot of them that are also dealing with. So I'm not sure exactly why they're reincarcerated. Like I'm not sure what the reasons are, but I do know that with a lot of them, they are dealing with substance use, and there's participants where they're heavily dealing with substance use, specifically crystal meth. And I know that there's a handful of participants that have experienced multiple incarcerations because they've had a hard time just getting back on their feet post-release. And I know that's been a bit a struggle for them. And I feel like that's been a commonality and a thread for a lot of the participants that have had recent reincarcerations, is with dealing with substance use. And not wanting to be open or receiving the care, unfortunately, because a lot of times they are open and they will share with me what they're dealing with. And you do try to provide a lot of support and referrals and resources. But a lot of them are just, unfortunately, right now, not at a place where they're wanting to receive it, but hopefully at some point they will, to receive the resources and care, that I'm providing. It can be challenging.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a question for the both of you, actually. So we know that when we talk about studies and when we talk about, certain communities that we all serve on this panel, that there's a lot of stigma that comes to it. The word study is stigmatized. The way that it's presented oftentimes is very stigmatized, and being a person of color, being a person who comes from, what we would consider an urban community, I have seen and been a part of certain things where studies are presented in a way where it makes me feel like all I am is a number. All I am is, just a part of this data that you're going to use and benefit from and then forget all about me. With the time that you've been in the field, how has doing studies changed thus far? And what do both of you feel can still be changed to really service the community for the things that you do these studies for?
Pretty much all of my work has been in partnership with community organizations and really informed by members of the communities that I'm working with, community advisory boards, or people who are part of the team that have lived experience. And I think that shapes and hopefully creates ways of interfacing with communities that don't make people feel the way that you talked about, Daniel. But I I completely recognize that there are a lot of people that came before me that created a very different set of histories and experiences that people have had with research, whether it's people coming sort of helicoptering in, doing their research and then leaving, and the community never sees any benefit, or people like you also described being treated like subjects and not being seen wholly for what they are. This is in part why I really try to make my interventions as holistic as possible. Sure, we're funded by HIV-related organizations. We want to prevent HIV or help treat HIV, for example, but we also know these are whole people, right? And their main goal may be reconciling with their families. Their main goal may be getting a job. And so to the extent that we can, we try to make those connections and recognize those things too, and then hope that the engagement and care or the prevention comes along the way. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again for, I think people in the field with research, I think would be better served. Come on, sirens. You gotta love a good siren on live television.
Sorry.
We love it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that it's so important, even with the work that we do here on the link, and when we're not on the link, and when we're in our offices and our computers, getting people to understand that there are those of us who see them as people, that we don't just see them as a number, that we don't just see them as a quota that we're trying to reach. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we all deal with grants, we all deal with different contracts that we have to fulfill, and from the top down, they're looking at are you meeting your numbers, are you meeting this criteria? And it can get really easy to kind of get caught up in that and forget, oh wait, I'm actually dealing with human beings that have feelings and have lives and have things so
and
beyond
then
what I'm doing.
And then also, to your point, Daniel, also stopping to check ourselves when we lose that sense, when we become numb, and doing the work and making sure that, I am stopping to say, hey, are you okay? As opposed to, well, this is what we're going to do, X, Y, and Z. And it's like a whole bunch of information at once. Daniel, I 100% agree.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say something really quickly. I also feel that a little kindness goes a long way. I think these weekly check-in calls definitely help, because I do feel like it makes them feel like they're not just a number. I, for example, have a participant where after he was released, he was reaching out a lot to me in regards to resources and referrals, and I was giving him everything he needed and checking in with him. And at one point, he just was like, "Why are you being so nice to me?" And it caught me off guard, because I was like, "Wow!" I was like, because I'm here for you. I'm here to help you, and I want to provide for you however I can. And it made me feel like, wow, sure, that's how a lot of them might feel when they're released, that nobody cares. They're just a number. They're just, they're not important. So it was nice, because it made me feel like I was making some sort of impact, or positive impact in his life. Like, he authentically felt like I was here to support him, and that meant a lot to me. And that made me feel. And that's going back to like talking about building rapport. It's so important, because you don't want them to feel like you're just a number and you're just going to come in and take the data and just leave. I think it is important. Even when we're done with the study too, I always tell them my door is always open. You can always reach out to me. You can call me. You can text me. I'm always still here to help you however I can, even when we're done with the intervention. Letting them know that, the door's no longer, it's just not shut and that's it. I'm always here to help you however I can. So I think also personalizing, them as individuals, and remembering little details they share with you, whether it's about a boyfriend or a mother or whatever, and always bringing back those little details in conversations. It makes it really personal for them. I think that matters.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Rudy, because he does not give up on people. I think there was a particular client that I think there were maybe at least 4 different attempts where there were appointments set to get people to care, even in some cases with transportation. And, the person, whatever reason, wasn't making that connection, but Rudy did not give up, and it's unfortunately, oftentimes we're dealing with populations for whom a lot of people in their lives have given up on them. And so, we will do what we can. And then sometimes people disappear for a while, that they're not interested. And then the door's still open, though. They want to re-engage. And we do our best when they want to re-engage.
And speaking of Rudy and their amazingness, there's a question for Rudy, actually. Rudy, with your specific target population, are you finding that youth are more or less easily empowered in current times with current day-to-day life issues?
It's a great question. I feel that at the moment, there's so much that they're dealing with. I mean, in addition to just, having been released from jail, dealing with their HIV, it's also even COVID. COVID has been also a big thing for a lot of people. It weighs heavy on them. I know a lot of times they disclose feeling a lot of isolation, feeling that they need to reconnect with friends and family members, a lot of deaths happening, friends and family members. So yeah, I definitely feel that it's been challenging, more difficult, more so because I feel like COVID's also compounded a lot of what they're already dealing with. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that question. And thank you both for being here. At the end of the show, for anyone who is watching, we will be posting the information for the different studies and how to get in contact with them. But before we let you two go, is there anything else you want to say, to anyone?
It's kind of funny. One of the things we didn't talk about was the money. And I feel like I don't want to make it sound like that's the key thing, but money's important to all of us. Am I right?
Yes, that is literally the only way you are going to get participants for the study is if you bring up that incentive.
And so there are the studies do all involve incentives. People get incentives for completing interviews and assessments. They also don't directly involve any treatments. We are encouraging people to get biomedical prevention if they need it. We're encouraging people to get into HIV care, but we're not giving you medicine or a vaccine or any of that kind of stuff. None of that is required or part of being in the study. The people do get paid basically cash compensation for completing the interviews. And then there are some assessments for things like for the Link 2 study for getting your viral loads done, which is basically an indicator of people engaging in care. For the MEP study, we do a kind of a lot of actually small incentives that can really add up over time for people in the intervention group.
That's really cool.
Sorry,
I actually just completed a study, like a 2-year study myself.
Oh,
and like, yeah, I started it when, not like as a participant. So like when I started it, I was actually in a really tough financial spot, and like it came through right when I really needed it. So I'm a testament to the fact that like it does make a difference to a lot of people.
Come through study.
Right. $70 came in real useful back then when I had no money.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had study participants say, I remember one woman in particular a number of years ago saying, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to finally go get those glasses that I've needed, but I have not been able to pay for that prescription. And, she couldn't drive without them. It was not a small thing.
I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the fact that, Rudy, I am just going to say I love your energy. Your entire presence on this panel gives me patience, gives me care and like attentiveness to these people. So thank you. And as well, Dr. Nina, I appreciate your the passion behind what you do and what you say and how you speak about the work that you both do. So thank you for taking the time out to be here with us and to speak with us. And hopefully this conversation has allowed people who watch the link and people who will watch this particular episode to understand that studies are nothing to be afraid of, that it's not something that you have to, shy away from. They actually can do a lot of good. They often do a lot of good for not only the community, but for you, and for individuals specifically, especially with a good coin attached to it. Because like Rogelio said,
bling, bling,
sometimes
bling, bling.
that incentive comes right on time. Comes right when you need it.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
So with that, though, we are going to have to say goodbye to both of you. But thank you both so much for being on. We would love to have you both back in the future for anything new that might come up, or
please.
Anything like that, or maybe even in kind of partnerships down the road. Maybe when COVID decides to step off of our necks for a little bit.
Nice.
Kind of group activity.
Thank you for having us. We would love to.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, so
and we will be talking.
So thank you so much. So with that, we are going to hit our first commercial break. When we come back, it'll just be the cast of the link. So we'll see you by both or all then. And thank you so much, Rudy and Dr. Nina, again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Ty here from APLA Health, and I got some good news for you.
APLA Health is launching our first ever at-home HIV testing initiative.
As we battle the global pandemic of COVID-19 and all that it entails,
APLA Health is doing what we can to fill the gaps for those who are in need of knowing their status, linking to care, and having safer sex options.
The initiative, officially known as Swab and Chill, will be our virtual hub for those seeking to take an HIV test, receive HIV kits, link it to medical care for those who are HIV positive, while also having access to several other programs and services that specialize in harm reduction for HIV infection.
Such services include PrEP and PEP information, as well as substance abuse services. Our goal with Swab and Chill is to make HIV testing easily accessible and easy to use within the comfort of your own home.
We provide each client with the Aura Quick at-home testing kit. This kit is a simple test that is done by orally swabbing the gums and waiting 20 minutes for your results.
APLA staff is available to virtually assist you while taking the test, while providing resources and support for those who may test positive.
maybe you already know your status and you're just low on condoms and lube due to accessibility. No problem. We can also send you one of our safer sex kits right to your front door.
As we strive to keep our community safer and well informed, your privacy is also a high priority.
All packaging will appear from APLA Health. Our over-the-phone assessments are quick, easy, and secure, so you can feel safe in sharing your results with us and asking any questions that you may have.
If you or someone that you know is interested in having one of our at-home testing kits mailed to you, or you just want more information on what Swab and Chill we provide, please call one of our team members at 323-329-9713, or just email us.
Come swab and chill with 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 us.
I'm so into this transition music.
Me too. And also for our Swab and Chill commercial, if you don't take anything from that commercial, just notice everybody's here, but mine's got way longer and way longer.
So much longer.
So much more luscious. So yes, but yeah.
And the longer it got, the more I hide it in the head wrap, honey, because sometimes it's just too much. Yeah.
I really enjoyed our special guest today. I think that, and I know this is like, you know, a conversation we'll have when we get off, but, you know, if you're still watching, I hope that you did take away that studies are good. Studies are meant to aid in the community. And I never want to say take advantage of something, but definitely take advantage of studies, especially since you are a unique person. By doing the study, you know, sharing your experience helps open up many more doors for more people. So definitely consider those things that we heard earlier.
Yeah, and because I always keep it real, child. You know, I'm going to say, if you feel like a certain study is just a little shysty, you reach out to us and we'll try to give you the right information. Because some studies are great, but not all of them.
Some are not.
Just go put that out there and give you the 100% say on that, okay?
Right. And I think what I really enjoy is who the study is for, right? It's for people incarcerated. People oftentimes they are let out of prison and given nothing, right? So I think that's really, really important. And, you know, in prison, they don't give you an HIV test even. And we know that they're still having sex. You're not supposed to, but you know, sex is still happening. And they're not giving you sexual health kind of tools. So,
well, they also don't know much about PrEP and PEP in prison either. So, I mean, the fact that they don't offer condoms and any of that, it's ridiculous to me. And side note, can I just shout out that when Rudy first came on the screen, I was sitting here going like, when did we get Jamie Lee Curtis? He looks like he can be Jamie's brother. I was like, yes, come through skin, hair, fabulous Rudy. Shout out to you, and it was everything. I loved it.
Yes.
Right. They were both really sweet. So
yes. Absolutely.
Though, let's get into kind of some fun things too. Let's get into what's popping, right?
Oh,
what is popping? Okay.
What is popping?
So I have some things. Who would like to go first?
I was going to say, I think that Kai and I might be thinking about the same thing, something that happened today in regards to Miss Texas as a state. So the governor of Texas decided to send out a tweet in a very Trump-esque manner and said, and I quote, "All masks can be removed. I'm removing the mask mandate effective immediately." And then I think it was like a following tweet, like, "Go outside and live your life." So you don't want to work anymore? Is that what you're doing? Is this like your farewell tweet? Texas has been a nightmare. And first of all, our thoughts and prayers are to everyone still recovering from the, I guess I want to call it a natural disaster that happened 2 weeks ago. I had friends and family who were in Texas with their pipes burst. People were wandering around looting and stuff like that. There was no electricity or anything like that. But for Ted Cruz to go to Cancun was one thing. Now the governor's like, no more masks. And it's like, it's just another place that I won't ever be living. I can't even fathom.
And what's weirder about it is the mask mandate has been gone, but also effective next week on the 10th of March. Everything will be open 100% capacity. If a business decides they don't want to, that's up to the business. But every other COVID-19 kind of precaution now is advisory in Texas.
And then also think about that too, Kai, what you just said, it just triggered something. Think about what you just said. It makes a divide in what people believe is correct. So if you walk into a restaurant now with a mask on, there are going to be people that are not wearing masks looking at you like you're crazy. And it's like, it causes a further divide. It almost makes the situation more political than what it was.
And I mean, for me, politics aside, I think it's such a strange thing to do because it was either yesterday, today, every major strand of the COVID-19 virus had been found in Houston, Texas. Not even just in Texas, just one state. And I think it even said only about 13% of the Texas population has even gotten the first dose. Just the first dose of any of the vaccines.
Right.
I don't run states. I don't run countries. I don't tell people how to live their lives. But this seems to me not like a good idea.
Right.
Yeah, I can't believe how many people are. I mean, I believe it. That so many people in positions of power, and I hate using this word, they are dumb. Just for lack of, but you are not fit to lead any kind of governing body, any kind of state. You can't even lead two people to the grocery store with making suggestions like we don't need to be wearing masks when only 13% of your population in your state is vaccinated. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't think they're dumb. I think they're honestly just selfish and greedy. That's honestly feature. But no, that's honestly what it comes down to is the fact that a lot of these
sneak up on you on it.
Right. These politicians, all they care about ultimately is money. So they want things open so that businesses can reopen, so the economy can bounce back. Like that is their main priority. Not thinking about the fact that this has gone on for so long because we weren't so strict about it from the beginning and allowed it to keep growing in different areas and kind of, coming back. And now we're on like the third wave and we're coming down from it, but it's still kind of outrageous. I did want to bring up another COVID related news topic, just because I also want to give a shout out to the week to Dolly Parton, just because she recently just got her vaccine actually and posted a picture of it. So shout out to her for promoting public health. But she also recently, I think Tennessee state legislator voted to remove a Confederate statue, and instead they wanted to put Dolly Parton there. They literally were about to go forward with it, and then last minute she was all like, she put out a statement where she was all like, I think at a time like this, with everything that's going on politically, I wouldn't feel right taking the place of like somebody, in the state capitol. It should go to somebody who is working towards, whatever human rights, whatever it may be. So now they're like considering other options. So shout out to Dolly Parton. I feel like we should start doing weekly shout outs and she gets mine.
Yeah, I enjoy Dolly.
Alex and Jane Fonda are two of the white women in the world that have been the least problematic and abused their privilege, I think, the best.
Universally loved. Loved.
Agreed. Yeah.
So also, we're Mississippi. Don't think we're not talking about you too. We know that you lifted your COVID restrictions as well. Same as you get all the flame too. But I want to switch subjects a little bit more pop culture-y, but still pretty serious. We brought this up briefly. And the reason I think we didn't get into it is because, we had the insurrection, domestic terrorism. happening on January.
Call it what it is. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
the head of the FBI, as of yesterday, called it domestic terrorism. But
Thank you.
Perfect.
But the point is, where I'm going is Tiny and Ti. There has been a lot happening around them about sexual assault allegations. I think up to 11 women, if not more, have come forward.
Keep snowballing.
Yeah, like drugged. They were put in really bad sexual situations, raped, sexually assaulted, all while at parties with Tiny and Ti. What's everyone's thoughts? Let's sound off on this. As of right now, Tiny and Ti, their television show has been put on hold until more has been, I guess, investigated. But what is everyone else's thought, especially in a time right now, like this, where we're talking about, we're just kind of getting out of the big Me Too movement before COVID hit. So, Me Too is still kind of really, really revving up. But what do you think? Because I see a lot of people aren't believing the victims.
I definitely think that, and I'll be brief, I think that what I'm happy to see is that these stories are being highlighted. These stories are being taken seriously by a majority of people. I have seen people make excuses due to the fandom of the couple, or just completely, toss it to the side. I do like that we are in a space now when someone is sharing their story, their truth, people kind of pause for a second, as opposed to continuing to go with their day. I think that that's the one highlight that I've been happy to see, because these women are not. I want to believe that these women are meeting up and making their stories together and then putting them out. These are valid stories. So I think that that's one thing that I've been able to kind of witness, is even in our community, with communities of color, when things like this come up, we kind of stay mum. We stay real, real quiet. And a lot of people share that experience. But I think that this has been something completely different where, there are people sounding off on it. And I know that opinions can be, a little dangerous at times when you're dealing with something as serious as this. But I'm happy that everyone, or at least the people that I've seen, have stopped and kind of like, wow, let me pay attention to this, as opposed to, oh, she lying. I didn't like the, oh, she lying phase. Like, that became so problematic after a while. It was like, you couldn't even say, one thing about a person without their fans kind of jumping in and attacking you. And fans don't know these people personally. Like, you may have a T.I. and Tiny poster in your room, but they're not calling you over for dinner. So we have to take all of these as serious accusations, and we have to listen to the victims as opposed to, just tossing them off to the side. So I definitely say that I'm happy to see that.
Right.
As someone who, outside of APLA, is a person of the media, in a way, as a blogger and an online personality and all that good stuff, I definitely understand the pause. I understand the opinions on both ends. Personally, I don't know Tiny. I don't know Ti. So I don't know any of their personal business. I can't say yay or nay in this particular situation. And it sucks because as a person who is a survivor of sexual abuse, you do want to advocate for these stories. You do want to advocate for women, men, trans folks, non-binary folks who come out and talk about sexual violence and sex trafficking and all of it. Like, you want to advocate for the victim. But we also know that we live in a world where people lie. We also know that we live in a world where people go after people with money. We also know that when it comes to Black and brown celebrities, that there are a lot of things that happen in other spaces, behind the scenes, behind the veil, that are created to really knock them down because of other work that they may be doing in the community. One person that comes to mind infamously is Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt had an entire dossier brought up around her, like, this woman had to move to another country because her own country was trying to, send her ass to jail. I think in this situation, I agree with Ty in the regard that I'm happy that it at least is causing people to think about the alternative, that it's causing people to ask questions, that it's causing people to ask themselves, well, could they have done these things? That there isn't just this blind, allegiance to fandom, that there isn't just this blind allegiance to celebrity, that the questions then just kind of go away. And we've seen that culture and that pathology happened in years past with other celebrities. One that I'm not going to necessarily name, but has a urination fetish. So I think
I have an idea as to who that might be.
I will
R.
not
Kelly,
speak.
we can say his name. Fuck
No,
it.
I will not speak his name. I will not speak his name. Y'all can speak his name all you want to. But I definitely think that this is it's a really weird space to be in, because on one hand, as a person, as a Black person, it's like, do I really want to tear this Black family down? Like, is it true? And then on the other hand, it's like, well, are these victims telling the truth, or are they part of some large media conspiracy that we may not know anything about? So it's a difficult space to be in.
That's really important too, Daniel, that you mentioned that, because I just thought about, what we've seen in our politics with the sexual accusations and political party defending the person from their party to the end, regardless of whether it makes sense or not. Trump was caught on video saying certain things, and the Republicans were like, oh, that was manipulated. Fire Billy Bush from Access Hollywood because he was the one that initiated that conversation. It's like, that is a scary thing to think that, I'm looking at this Black family that's been on TV. I mean, I've never watched the show, no rhyme or reason. It's just, I like drama. I don't think that you get drama from that. I mean, you can probably get it now, but I don't think that you get drama from that. But you watch this Black family on TV and you think like, these people are stand-up people that, came into a little coin and, they're hustling and doing what they need to do and running their businesses. To your point, I just don't know. Like, it made me stop and kind of be like, well, am I thinking this because they're Black?
Yeah.
Because they very well could have done all of these things.
I think it's very damning when a lot of people come forward at the same time and have like the same story. So ultimately, it's up to the courts and whatever legal process they choose to pursue. If they do, I'm sure there's going to be a surviving T.I. and Tiny at some point that is going to really delve into this documentary. And I really want to echo, I really want to echo what Ty initially said, which I'm just honestly grateful that we live in a time where victims are being heard and taken seriously. Because another thing that I'm reminded of also is like the Free Britney movement, and how like, if you all watch the documentary, how like the sexism, the just like uncomfortable questions around her age, like being a teenager, being asked all these inappropriate questions, like it just made me stand back and say, wow, in 2021, we still have so much progress to make, but at least we understand now that, speaking about women a certain way, sexual and gender minorities a certain way, like all these groups, like we're starting to understand now that there's, a better way of doing this and there's accountability there.
I think one thing, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think one thing for me, for the T.I. story, why I'm taking it so seriously, or I'm more inclined to not lean towards more the victims, but really kind of hear what they're saying, is based off of kind of just what we've heard T.I. say, right? He has kind of a history of anti-feminine, anti-woman behavior, even to the point like kind of taking agency over his daughter's own body, who I believe is 18 now, telling him when he takes her to the doctor, he asks the doctor, is her hymen still in check, right? So I think, that aside, one thing that I think people really are starting to really notice is, based off of kind of bouncing off of what Rogelio said, is the sexism, the way we treat women, the way we treat feminine presenting people, and the way we actively often take away their agency or try to devalue what they are or what they're saying, has gotten to this really strange level. And I think within communities of color especially, what's been so harmful is we've had generations of sexual assault, sexual abuse, mistreatment, because one, we don't talk about anything that happens at home. We don't ever accuse our father figures, our grandfathers, our uncles, our older male figures, because they're the adults or they're the bosses of the family. So I think it's really important for people to recognize that we have to be mindful of that. Like, the toxic behavior is everywhere, and it's time for, I think, us as a community to kind of address it. And so we're seeing that, I think, often.
And acknowledge it. Let it be something that you learn about a person, regardless of whether you were a fan of that person or not. Acknowledge it. Don't let T.I. use them big words to switch you up and make you all confused.
Yeah,
that he don't know the meaning of.
and this is an argument I've heard before for people who say, I still support, someone we mentioned, R. Kelly, beforehand. And this was a comment that someone had said that I think was really, really profound, that why it's so hard for some people to release, their idolization of R. Kelly, or even someone like Michael Jackson. It's because
I was just thinking that too, yeah.
Growing up, people of color, at every major celebration, barbecue, birthday party, dance, family reunion, every special moment, their music was there. And communities of color, often music is, our love language. That's how we express ourselves. So that's why it's been hard. But I think it's also time for us to recognize that, we need to separate people from kind of the art they're creating at times and recognize I can't support someone like that. So that's a thought that I've had with me often for when people are like, I just love R. Kelly, I'm just gonna listen to him quiet, and I get it, but it's also like, let's do better too,
Right. And to the other argument, another thing I wanted to say was about power too, is the fact that like, even though it's hard to see a lot of these powerful figures, especially people of color who have overcome circumstances, who you may like see as like, symbols of progress and all these amazing things. And, even though it's a shame that a lot of them are torn down, we also have to be reminded that power is, corruption, and that a lot of these people are able to get away with what they get away with because they have that power, that money, that insulation that is provided to them. And so it's just another reminder as to why celebrity as a concept is kind of toxic in and of itself. We should never hold anybody to these unrealistic standards because people are human. Oh no, we lost Ty.
Ty said, I'm a celebrity, I gotta
go. Right. I thought he was just so captivated by my speech that he was just frozen and, time.
So as we draw our episode of The Link to end, we still have about 5 or 7 more minutes here. I do want to kind of do a quick recap. I'm so sorry, the ice cream man is like parked right out front of my window. But I do want to do a quick recap of Dr. Nina and Rudy, some of the services they had. We do have flyers. If we could show those, and we'll just talk through those really quick. So don't forget that the first study they have is linked to for the research study. So if you're someone who's 25 years or older, you've been in jail or juvenile center in the past 12 months, and you're living with HIV, it's for you. And then we have the MET. So this is for men or trans women who have sex with men, someone who has been in jail recently, HIV negative. And these are different services. We will post these flyers on our page later on. So, hey, Ty. Welcome.
Hey, I think Spectrum was like, sis, you speaking them real facts. I gotta kick you out, but I'm back. Not the first time I've been kicked out of the club. It's okay.
It's okay. So if you are interested in those studies, we will post those flyers. Definitely take advantage of them if you qualify. But with that, any last minute things that we want to say, share to the world, let them know. I can put my hair in a bun like this, so that's my news for the day.
Oh, I did want to ask you all, I guess, because I guess, the viewers wouldn't know, but we are back in the office. How have you all been feeling since we've gotten back?
Right. I have mixed feelings, honestly.
Take your mind, sis.
Right, because I initially was kind of dreading it. I was all like, no, I'm so used to just being at home and having that freedom to just, run down to my refrigerator and get a snack, or, work from my bed and lay down if I really had to. So like the thought of having to go into work and be ready 40 hours a week was kind of overwhelming. But honestly, after yesterday coming back and even today, I honestly feel so much more productive in the office, and it's so nice to interact with people again, like getting that human contact again, seeing all my lovely coworkers, my castmates included, of course. Like it kind of reinvigorated me. And I had one of those days where I came home and it was hard to turn off my mind because I was like kind of living off that high of having been, interacting with so many people for the, for the first time in so long.
Well, okay, hello. I have to say that I really enjoy being back in the office because the separation between work and home it's just a must for me. Although I will say my Uber bill is probably going to be astronomical because I have not taken public assistance in a year due to COVID, due to just not trusting the public transport system. So I am probably going to be looking into getting a car this year because yes, I can't. I love Uber and Lyft, but yeah, I don't necessarily want to pay their rent. Okay. And going back and forth from work. But honestly, it doesn't bother me. You know, I got a bigger cubicle. I got to decorate it. It looks like a little mini work apartment. So I love it.
Yeah, you live there. Oh, you're talking crap. For me, I'm feeling the same way that you are, Rogelio. I was very mixed, right? Just because of safety. You know, it felt and it kind of came without warning. When at APLA got the vaccine, they're like, all right, we're loosening up a little bit. We're gonna open up, no clients, but staff can be there. So at first I was terrified. And I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't know. I've got the system afloat. I'm never going to be as productive as I am at home. I have been. And I missed everyone. I didn't realize. I always think I'm like a homebody. Like I like to stay home. I'm not social. I got into the cubicle and all yesterday, I probably sat down for a total of maybe 5 or 10 minutes. The rest of the day, I was running to everyone, checking in. Do you have this? Do you need this? Let's make sure, like helping everyone set up. So I miss people. So yeah.
Yeah, no, he really did. He was popping up everywhere. Like everyone mentioned, I had my doubts. I was like, it might be too soon. We tried this before, and last spring
June.
Actually, June, and it didn't really play out the way that we thought it would. But this time feels a little different. Like Rogelio mentioned, and like Kai and Daniel also said, you know, coming in on Monday, we're all standing there at a socially distanced space and looking at each other and welcoming each other back and being able to say that we can see each other. The past year has been complicated for a lot of people. So to be able to kind of, you know, see my coworkers and they're physically in front of me, everything is okay, or at least presenting to be okay, was enough for me. Productivity wise, I'm not sold that I'm not more productive at home, but I will say I did get a lot done since I've been back to the office. I'm gonna have to test out another week at home. So someone's going to have to approve that, so I can just for social experiment wise, you know, I gotta balance it out. But I am happy that we are back, and I am happy to see everyone smiling faces. So that's been a plus for me.
Great. So yeah, as you know, we're back in the office, but don't worry. Every Tuesday, you'll get us here in our homes. You'll get to see Rogelio's wonderful background every week.
Absolutely. Because we cannot do this at the office. It's way too loud.
And it's way too fluorescent. Oh my God.
Right, that overhead light.
Yeah.
Oh, overhead lights. I'm like, fine, whatever. We want to say thank you all so much for tuning in this week for another episode of The Link. We will see you same time, same place next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Right, see you at the office.